There is a moment of huge opportunity for India right now. US-China relations have continued to go downhill. Of course, India's position with China is also similarly a little fractured. What do you think is the strategy that India should adopt here?
We did make a statement that we want to, manufacturing should be 25% of the GDP. Never achieved it. If India wants to get onto the manufacturing scale, China is their best partner. India's cost of labor is still manageable. As people move out of China, their natural ally should have been India. But unfortunately, it's not been India. Unfortunately, despite having a booming IT industry, we never went for R&D. We never went to build our own products.
It's the easier, lower hanging fruit.
In a downturn or when there is economic issues, you need to have something that you manufacture. And you're dependent upon on a very disrupted supply chain. And that's where the challenge is going to come. I think what we need is a repeat of 1991, but with very different kind of reforms.
I would say it's a historic opportunity.
Yes.
To make some very bold, reformatory moves, which can impact for the next 20 years.
Rewrite the laws for a modern economy. On the ground, we're having some serious challenges of setting up a company. India also has issues around corruption. That's a big elephant in the room, and I think we need to deal with it. Indian rupee will always be a challenge. So we need some severe agricultural reforms. What is going to help us is going to be technology. We are sitting at a golden moment, I would say. This is India's decade.
Moving on to a slightly more, not necessarily about the legal type of framework, but if I may, say it in a slightly provocative way, a slightly illegal issues that come and affect you. I'm calling it illegal because I'm not a fan of, countries invading other countries.
Yeah.
So I'm really talking about conflicts like Ukraine, Russia war, and the Middle East thing also has been going on for a couple of years. The Ukraine situation has been going on for more than 3 years now, and with seemingly no end in sight. So with all the planning that we can do, how do we, as an economy, how do you think India should address these kind of risks? And also, it's a bit of a fragile balancing act that we need to play, because on the one hand, we have very good relations with US, of course, and likewise we have historically had good relations with Russia, right? And now, if the war ends with, say, US kind of supporting Ukraine, a lot of US businesses are going to enter Ukraine. So, what do you think is geopolitically the opportunity or threat for India here from this whole situation? I mean, we have talked about China and the opportunity and the threat there. What is a similar analysis for you, in your view, about Russia, Ukraine? Do you think India, should be pursuing Ukraine as a new ally, as a logical, extension to our US relationship, or should we continue with or deepen what we have with Russia? That's the other geopolitical economic question.
See, India, if we see over the years, we were not a very major economic part till 1991 and, all things opened up. But we were always a non-aligned country.
Of course.
We never took positions, either Russia, US, any of them. I think that made a big difference in the way countries saw us, people saw us. So when actually both these wars have not really impacted India in a negative way.
Sure.
If at all, it has impacted us in a positive way, because we bought so much of oil from Russia at very cheap prices, much lower than the global prices.
Yeah.
And we settled it off in rupees and in dirhams and everything else. So we didn't even go there. So we had a big, I would say, advantage. Now with Ukraine, I think you've raised a very interesting point. Ukraine has to be rebuilt out.
Completely.
Okay?
Completely.
Has to be rebuilt out. Now, if we ally with the US and say, okay, we are going to be part of that build out, and also do a smart deal for ourselves. US has signed up this rare earth deal with Ukraine.
Yeah.
So why doesn't India not get a part of that rare earth? Because that is all required in the chip manufacturing and everything else. So doing that. Secondly, Ukraine suffered a lot on the fertilizer. By the time it all comes back, why can't India not make the nitrogen-based fertilizers? And that can become exporting to all the countries like Brazil and wherever else it can go, who are large consumers of that. So I would say that there's opportunities on the industry. There's and you raised that point that there's opportunity on infrastructure build out, because now that we have built out our own infrastructure into world class, we've got the experience. We can go and build out the airports, their ports, and everything else can be done. So I think India will play a pragmatic role. I think there will be an opportunity out there. And because if you look at it, we have good relations with US. You see the President Trump keeps saying, my friend, my friend. Yeah. And then you have Russia, which has got a decent relationship with India. Middle East got very good relationships with India. Correct. See, these are all economic driven, because the only person who's buying big oil at scale is India. Absolutely. So they need to keep India also they need the relationships going. So I think it's a golden opportunity, my view. It's a positive for India. Yeah. But India should negotiate properly, and maybe get its own true fair share.
No, absolutely. That's very, and I'm also particularly focused on Ukraine because I have been spending a lot of time. I have a couple of very close Ukrainian business friends who have spent a lot of time discussing about the opportunities there, and I've spent some time to understand the opportunities. And a couple of the points that you made are spot on, right? For India, infrastructure I see as a massive, massive opportunity. I think the Indian infra players should be definitely looking towards Ukraine, and I have been pushing for that, in my own small way. But these couple of friends, they're doing some pretty transformational work in the Ukraine landscape, and I'm kind of helping them with some of the policy reform, and and also in terms of giving them the roadmap in terms of which industries to look at in India. So one of the things that I also learned in the course of all these discussions is they have certain crops. I mean, they have huge amount of land, of course, right? Now, the one aspect is rebuilding everything which has been broken down, which itself is a huge opportunity. The second is going to be they have a lot of land. So you can use it for agricultural purposes for some of the, they were talking about contract farming and things like that. Now, that may not all be suitable for us, but some things, for example, they were talking about biodiesel as a, certain things which can be, grown to produce power in a sustainable, renewable way. Informally advising a couple of friends who are Ukrainian business people, doing some very phenomenal planning for the post-war development of Ukraine. And they've been involved in quite a few things. And one of the things, I've been helping in my own small way by sharing our, inputs on what India and Ukraine can collaborate on. And in my view, I completely agree with you that the infrastructure sector of India has become a huge strength. And I still remember back when I first worked on the first airport privatization deal in India, we were, it was a requirement that you had to tie up with a foreigner because it was assumed that the Indian party didn't have the expertise to do it. But now, most of these airports or, other infrastructure, companies are controlled by Indian entities. They don't even need a foreign partner. Some of them get it for adding up their whatever. But so that's how far we have come in like 25 years. So I think rebuilding of the entire infrastructure is definitely an opportunity. And the other one which I saw was things like biodiesel. They have large tracts of land, and they have pretty fertile land, I'm told. So that's another thing that Indian corporates could kind of partner with them on. And of course, there's always technology where we are the dark horse who can provide technology at very cheap rates. So anyway, enough about Ukraine. I think we've given them a lot of free publicity. Though the question was broader about the Middle East conflict as well. And I think, absolutely, I think we have to tread it very, very cautiously around that. Coming back to the more recent current affairs related question, which is on everybody's mind. No points for guessing what this is. I'm talking about President Trump's new, second term. and his new approach, where new approach meaning he's always stated that it would be his approach. But what I mean is, it's a new approach that the U.S. is taking in terms of applying tariffs on all countries, including allies. So, do you really think? I can understand there's a lot of discussion and debate and much worry about it, but specifically about India, do you really think it is much of a constraint? And obviously, it will have an impact, because the tariffs are bound to have an impact on consumption, on the rate at which our economy grows. Their economy grows as well. But do you think, for us, what are some of the ways in which India can look to mitigate the effects of these tariffs, in assuming they don't go away for the short term or medium term? Then how do we ensure that we continue to grow at 6-7% as we want to, or maybe even more?
So I think if you have seen recent announcement which has come from the US, that he has put the tariff increase on hold for 90 days. And is there going to be a rethink? My personal view, now this is my personal view, is that even for the tariff, India may not go for the numbers he has sent there. It may come down to 10-15%, or maybe, and including the 10% base. So he's got a base for everybody 10 and above that he's gone. He will see how much India has done on the tariff reduction for US goods. And I think there will be a give and take negotiation. There's also a trade agreement which is getting worked out with the US. So he needs India. If he doesn't have China, then India is his big partner, where they can do a lot of the things which they would have been doing with China earlier. And so I think that is something that is going to drive some of the behaviors. And I feel even if you look at the trade, Vijay, overall the trade between India and the US, it's while it is there, but it's not all that. It won't impact. India is a consumption-driven economy. Domestic consumption is very big. As much as we want all those things, the Americans need this market to sell their goods. And so they will ensure that their players, the big IT companies, are all, because China has literally banned them, so which is the other big market. So I think they will continue.
By the way, that's the only one which has not been paused for 90 days.
Yeah.
It continues to be.
Absolutely. China, he continues there. So what the implication there is going to be, we don't know. Whether China will benefit, US will benefit. I think a lot of the third world, other countries will start benefiting out of it, because between these two people's trade wars. I think I would say tariffs have never been good. If you go back, I'm going again historical, 1928-30, Great Depression, tariffs came, 20,000 goods US put tariffs on, and because they were going through depression, and that depression just went in deeper and prolonged. It was the worst time in economic history of anybody. Then Mr. President Reagan came. He brought these tariffs on Japanese car manufacturers, etc. Of course, Japanese proved smarter. They brought the Lexus and the Honda's upmarket car to the quotas, so they could get over those quotas, and they actually went away. So I think but that time also tariffs have never been good. Okay, just to answer, tariffs are never good. I feel here's an opportunity for India to go with the EU, go with other countries and say, listen, let's do our free trade agreements at much better places. And maybe the time for India to renegotiate the services part of the agreement. We have issues around visas. We have issues around people going out and working in other countries, because we have this huge demographic dividend. They need to go and work somewhere. So we should see how there could be an easy way in which they could go out, because then foreign exchange comes back to the country.
But then, to be fair, if we want to take, then we also should give. So we don't let most people come in without a visa, and I think that kind of. I now live in Singapore, so I see that Singapore has taken a very pragmatic approach to it. They are ranked now for the last several years as the most powerful passport in the world, despite being one of the tiniest countries in the world. And that's because they take this approach of we'll allow more people to come in and they will allow us to come in. So it's well-struck reciprocal deals, I think. So, but I agree with you there as well. I think we should definitely make it easier for people to, our people to travel easily to many countries, because that brings in a lot of opportunity. And equally, it also brings in, if we offer that on a reciprocal basis, it brings in not just business, but it also brings in tourism numbers as well, right? I mean, that's the other
because
big one we have ignored for a long time.
That's a big industry. I think they need to work on it. And I agree with you totally. If the visa regulations are downsized everywhere, it will prove to be.
Absolutely. PM Modi has talked about Viksit Bharat by 2047.
Our growth rates have fallen below 7%.
India has a 10 trillion economy by 2032.
We want to achieve 10 trillion.
What could we be doing better to get to the 10 trillion economy by 2032?
If we want to get there, the first thing we'll have to do is make India an attractive destination. See, the problem is this demographic dividend should not become a demographic liability.